Klonoa Door to Phantomile is the best PlayStation 1 game I have ever played. I'm not going to start this off with some roundabout intro that eloquently leads into my opinion. That is my takeaway about Klonoa, plain and simple. Play this game right now. I could end the video right here. Now, you may have heard about Klonoa before, and if you have, I have to imagine it was probably only a handful of times, just mentioned in passing. But I also have to imagine these mentions were accompanied by unanimous praise for the game. The thing with Klonoa fans is they don't just like Klonoa, they love Klonoa. There is no room for less than that. It's pretty impressive if you think about it, because if you don't know, Klonoa is a series that, over the course of 28 years, has had only 2 mainline releases. The rest are spin-offs and remakes. Kind of. And you might find it easy to look at all this praise and go, well, surely they must be overselling it just a tiny bit. The game can't really be that good, right? I was one of those people, and I could not have been more wrong. A few months ago, back in February, I was in the mood to play something, as is often the case, I'm sure you're surprised, and I felt like trying something new. All that, combined with the fact that I've since befriended a diehard Klonoa fan, I decided I ought to finally see what's up. I went and grabbed the game from
a legitimate video game retailer,
got DuckStation set up and ready to go, and I'll tell you straight up, I played the whole thing in one go. The entire game from start to finish in one sitting. It's not a long game, but I loved every second of it. From the very first moment that you boot the game up, it overflows with personality. You get this fun little intro video, and the title screen has a jingle with Klonoa himself going WAHOO integrated into it. This is something Klonoa does a lot. I think the developers knew they had something special there. They made sure to put it in right away. Once you push start and begin a save file, the tone suddenly shifts to this melancholic piano melody, accompanied by some passages of text talking about dreams. It then gives you the proper opening cutscene. You get to see Klonoa playing around in the forest. Look at him. Not a care in the world. And finally, you are put into the actual game, where you are immediately met with a vibrant, colorful art style. It's a 2.5D style platformer where the environments are 3D and the characters are 2D sprites. You've also got this whimsical music playing alongside everything. The whole experience just becomes a total joy from the instant it begins, and it remains so until you stop playing. So what about the gameplay, I can hear you asking? Well, it is rather simple, but I don't see that as a negative. It's got the usual 2D platformer sort of movement where you run left or right and you can jump. Not breaking a whole lot of new ground quite yet. You have a weapon of sorts, which is this big ring Klonoa holds in his hand, which when you press square shoots a little beam of green light. It does not go very far, you might notice, but that's because it's not a projectile. It works more like a grapple. When you walk up to an enemy and use it, they suddenly inflate like a balloon and Klonoa lifts them up. Once you're holding an inflated enemy, you can do a couple of things with them. You can throw them in one of 4 directions, so left and right of course, but you can also throw them towards the foreground or background of a level, which is pretty cool. Alternatively, you might notice that, on his own, Klonoa does not jump especially high. He makes a valiant effort, and he can even hover a little bit, but he's not great at going up, which is, unfortunately, like 50% of jumping. Well, when holding an enemy, he can actually double jump to a much greater height than usual. And in the process of double jumping, he actually throws enemies in a fifth direction, down, which has its fair share of uses. For example, some enemies can only be defeated from above, so there you go. You might think this an odd way of double jumping for a platformer game, and admittedly it is at first. However, you need to do it so frequently throughout the game that by the time you complete the first level, it already becomes second nature. Again, this is all pretty simple, especially now that I'm explaining it out loud, but it's super responsive and feels really good to control. I don't even mean that in the sense of, oh, it feels good for a PS1 game. I'm saying that if this game had the exact same controls, but it was released this year on the PlayStation 5, I'd be like, holy shit, I'm playing a game on the PlayStation 5. But then I'd be like, yeah, this game's fun as hell. Oftentimes when I'm playing a game from this era, I find myself having to consciously get used to the controls. But with this one, it felt completely natural and took no additional effort to figure out. It has aged extraordinarily well. Better than most games that came out around the same time, at least of the few that I've played. It also runs at 60 frames per second, which is something I did not know any game on the PlayStation 1 had ever achieved. Klonoa features 6 worlds with 2 levels each, or visions as they're referred to, and at the end of each second level is a boss. There is so much variety in the settings of each level, as you've probably noticed from all the footage I've had on screen up to now, and everything is designed impeccably around Klonoa's moveset. There are lots of ledges that are too high to jump up to normally, so you must use an enemy to double jump. The same can be demonstrated by chasms that are too wide to cross, or collectibles that are just out of reach. Some enemies also have specific windows of opportunity where they can be grabbed. So precision matters in a lot of cases, whether it's timing or being in the right position. I briefly mentioned it a bit ago, but the foreground and background are actually both interactable. There will often be enemies attacking you from the background, like some will throw projectiles at you from a distance. And a lot of the time, the background in these cases will actually be a further part of the level that you haven't been to yet. So what's cool is you can actually take an enemy from where you are and throw it to the other enemy in the background to defeat those enemies early so they're not a problem later. Collectibles can also frequently be found in the foreground and background, particularly these big floating eggs. They're a bit far away for Klonoa to reach on his own, but you guessed it, tossing an enemy at them will do the job for you. One last way the foreground and background are integrated into levels that doesn't involve throwing enemies is sometimes the path of a level will intersect itself at certain points. And if you jump onto it, Klonoa will automatically start walking in that new direction, and you can check out where it leads. Bosses are great too, and they as well play into Klonoa's controls perfectly. The first boss is this guy called Rongo Lango. Rongo Lango. I have no idea how to say that. Sorry.
Make sure you watch out for your backside.
He's a big monster dinosaur looking freak. He's overall pretty easy, first boss and all that. He likes to jump super high just as a sort of intimidation tactic, I guess. So when he's in the air, you run underneath and get behind him. Once you get back there, you grab one of the normal enemies that spawn around the arena. These guys are called Moos, by the way. Great name. And you throw them at Rongo Lango's back to damage him. He'll gain a couple more attacks the more damage you do, as is pretty standard, and you follow along until you beat him. There's also a bell in the middle of the arena that, if you throw one of the moos into it, it rings. This This doesn't serve any purpose, but you can do it, and it's fun. Later on, there's another boss you deal with while swinging back and forth on a huge log. You don't swing left and right though, you swing forward and back in 3D space while controlling Klonoa as normal. The actual boss is in the very back of the level, and you have to hit him as you swing in his direction. It gets kinda crazy, but I really think you should play this for yourself, so I'm gonna move on. Now, the actual crowning achievement of this game is its story. It took me a while to figure out exactly how I want to describe the story. I can't simply go in and tell you everything that happens, as easy as that would be for YouTube content, but that's not the point of this video. The reality is, this is a story that I think is best enjoyed when you experience it and interpret it for yourself. I know that might sound like a cop-out, but the story really is so much more powerful than I could ever hope to convey using just words. If you have heard anything about Klonoa besides the unanimous praise, you might have seen people talking about how, oh, this game destroyed me, this game made me cry, that kind of thing. And truthfully, yeah, this game has a lot of parts to it that hit really hard. Way harder than I think you would ever expect from a game where the main characters look like this. Even though I'm saying some of this to you now, I'm still completely sure if you go and play this game, you will be surprised by some of the events that unfold in the story. And the thing is, these parts raise a lot of opportunities for you to ruminate on exactly what is happening. What the meaning of it is, what characters' motivations are, or what their history is. Clear, direct answers are not really given, and I think that's on purpose. I think that is what makes this game truly beautiful. Everyone who plays it can infer the events of the story in their own personal way. I could give you my answers to the questions this game's story raises, but it will be much more profound for you to come up with your own answers, and that is why I am so adamant that you experience it firsthand. This is not a review. This is not a retrospective. This is play Klonoa right fucking now! I am recommending this as if it's a game that just released yesterday. And in case you're still skeptical, I just want to clarify, this is not nostalgia talking at all. You can say that about some of the other games I talk about, but not this one. I played Klonoa for the first time earlier this year. That's what I did on Super Bowl Sunday. Now, of course, I expected to like this game when I first got into it. Most of my favorite games to play are platformers. Or at the very least, they have platforming elements. But I really have not been able to stop thinking about this silly little game since I finished it. It's honestly become a whole new obsession for me, which is really rare. I've been listening to the soundtracks repeatedly. It's a problem. I don't want to harp on this bit too long, but I feel comfortable saying that Klonoa 1 and 2 have some of the best video game soundtracks I have ever heard. Of course, lots of games have great soundtracks, but it's very prominent in Klonoa. Each and every song has such a strong presence in their respective levels. Anytime I go back and listen to one of them, it instantly brings me back. In late March, I ended up buying the remakes. Remasters? The line is kind of blurry now. But I played those, and I loved them all the more. Admittedly, Klonoa 1 is not as great in the remakester. The story and music and everything is completely intact. but Klonoa himself controls a bit differently. Primarily, he jumps way higher, but the levels are laid out exactly the same as the original, so a lot of the platforming feels a bit strange compared to how I was describing it just a few minutes ago. Apparently, it is built off of the Wii version of Klonoa 1, so I would strongly recommend just playing the original PS1 version. Don't play the Wii version.
I'm Klonoa from Wind Village.
Shut the fuck up. The Klonoa 2 remakester I have absolutely zero issues with. It's probably the best way to play that game in particular. Speaking of which, I haven't even gotten to Klonoa 2 yet! Klonoa 2, Lunatea's Veil, is everything I have been saying about Klonoa 1 up to this point, but better in every conceivable way. Klonoa 2 has more levels, the levels themselves are way longer with way more scope and spectacle, and the gameplay is largely the same, but a bit more refined and with a handful of new mechanics that feel like natural evolutions to Klonoa 1. Klonoa 2 also features a more robust story that, for me personally, hits even harder than Klonoa 1. There are more characters involved, said characters are better written with really satisfying arcs by the end, and Klonoa himself feels more mature since he is meant to be a bit older in this one. The soundtrack is somehow even better in this one as well. I really, really love Klonoa 2. It may very well be my favorite PlayStation 2 exclusive at this point in time. It's kind of close. Sly Cooper is pretty fucking good. But more on that another time. I can at the very least say that Klonoa Door to Phantomile is my favorite PlayStation 1 game now. It's just so bizarre to me that these games have been around just about as long as I have been alive. And yet I simply never experienced them until now. And they turned out to be these unforgettable masterpieces. Kinda makes me wonder just how many games are out there like that. I've actually known about Klonoa for a while too. Years, actually. If you remember back to when Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U was coming out, there was this very well-made fake leak going around of someone filming a video of the character selection screen with Rayman on it. It was super convincing, and the guy who made it, Artsy Omni, ended up coming clean about faking the whole thing as part of a series he did where he drew a bunch of characters in the Smash 4 style, appropriately titled Smashified. I ended up following his channel for a while, and wouldn't you know it, if you scroll all the way to the very first video on his channel, even before the Rayman one, there's our guy. So that was my true first exposure to Klonoa. Over a decade ago at this point, but I just never looked too deeply into it. Just like, oh, it's a character from some PS1 game. That's cool. What a fool I was. So yeah, that's Klonoa. Play it. Right now. Klonoa 1 is a very short game. You can 100% it in 2 or 3 hours. And you could definitely finish it in less time than that if you don't plan on 100%. Though I do recommend it. Klonoa 2 is a fair bit longer, but still only takes a few hours. I personally finished it in about 2 days. The barrier of entry and time commitment are both way too low to not at least give these games a shot. And odds are you will have a wonderful time with them just as I did. Officially, it is available on Steam and modern consoles with the Phantasy Reverie series. But the originals are available as well if you know where to look. Please do let me know in the comments if you check them out and what you think of them. Also, if you do go the emulator route and end up enjoying the game, do consider buying the Phantasy Reverie series anyway. Let Bandai Namco know that we want them to make Klonoa 3. That's about all I've got for today. I apologize for the shorter video, I know how long it's been, but I really needed to make this one after playing these games. I do have more stuff on the horizon, so subscribe and all that if you want, you know how it works. I'm planning on streaming Klonoa Door to Phantomile right here on this channel soon after this video releases, so don't miss it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your patience, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.